Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. I'm here with my special guest, Wonder Woman. So, is Wonder Woman any good? Well, we're about to find out. Okay, so what did I think about the Wonder Woman movie? Well, I'm going to have to use the F word here, and that is fun. Wonder Woman is an absolutely fun movie, but there were only a few things in that movie that kept it from being a classic on the same levels as the Avengers, Logan, and Guardians of the Galaxy 1, which is my favorites. Now, before I go any further, I will say that this is a spoilers review, so you've not seen Wonder Woman, go check it out first, and then you can come back to this review. So the first half of this review, I'm going to talk about things that I enjoyed about this movie, and then the second half, I'm going to talk about things that I didn't like so much. And so the first place that I have to start off with is Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman. You know, growing up, I used to always watch Linda Carter as Wonder Woman on TV. And I think for a lot of young boys, she's probably one of the first women that you fell in love with on TV. And then for young girls, she represented the ideal type of woman that you should become. She had beauty, she had brains, she was independent, and she was immensely powerful. And so she did a lot in paving the way for a lot of young girls, and then who later became women. So had a lot of big impact there. So really big shoes to fill there. And then secondly, Wonder Woman as a comic book character. Wonder Woman is right up there with Superman and Batman. She is iconic. And so you really had to get her right in the first theatrical run. And so in order to do that, not only did you need the right actress to play her, but you also needed the right director, script writers, the supporting cast. There's a lot of things that went along with it. And in terms of the actress, by the end of this movie, Gal Gadot, no doubt, she is Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot did an excellent job in encompassing what Wonder Woman is really about, and also portraying that in the movies, which isn't always easy to do, okay? But she did an excellent job, and I really can't see anybody else playing Wonder Woman besides Gal Gadot. Secondly is Patty Jenkins, the director. The last movie she did that was critically acclaimed was Monster, and that actually got Charlize Theron an Academy Award for her role in that movie. And Patty Jenkins masterfully directed this movie in a way where it was about Wonder Woman. It was about making an excellent film, and there wasn't any other agendas behind it. And I really appreciated that, because in that case, the focus is squarely making a great movie that everyone can enjoy. And also at the same time, for women, they get a lot of inspiration out of this movie, especially young girls. And then for the guys, you know, they're getting everything that they wanted, because this is a comic book character that is, like I said earlier, she's iconic. And so if you mess this up, it's going to really piss off a lot of comic book fans, you know, and the majority of comic book fans are guys, okay? But Wonder Woman, she is a very special type of character, because there's really not many like her, especially at the beginning when she came out, you know? And so Patty Jenkins, I just can't say enough about her directorial efforts in making this a great movie, okay? And along with that, she really stuck to the character. So this was a very character-driven movie, which are my favorite types of movies, because when you do that, you are invested in the characters. You actually care about them. And in this case, most of the movie focused on Diane Prince, aka Wonder Woman, and Steve Trevors, played by Chris Pine, and their relationship throughout the whole movie. So most of it was about that. And by the end of the movie, you cared about these characters quite a bit, you know, and you were sad to see them go. You know, as you all know, Steve Trevors, he dies at the end when he explodes in the plane. You know, so there was some emotional investment and weight into all of their actions. Okay, and I also enjoyed in the character development, they actually develop, they grow. So if you remember the beginning movie, Wonder Woman was very knowledgeable. You know, she knew a lot about things around the world. She could speak 100 languages because of all the things that she's read. However, in terms of wisdom, really experiencing the world, that's where Chris Pine comes in. He's a real guy, you know, with real problems, you know, who's going through a lot of stuff. And so he sees the world, in this case, mankind, for what it really is. You know, whereas, you know, Diane was sheltered in Themyscira her whole life. And so she only knew what she read. And so when she went out there in the real world, she had this naivety But at the same time, that didn't make her less intelligent, because she was basically a fish out of water, as many other reviewers have pointed out. And, so, like, by the end of the movie, you see the evolution of who these characters are. And then also, if you remember at the beginning of the movie, it starts in a modern age where Wonder Woman, gets a briefcase from Bruce Wayne, and it's an old picture of them back in World War I. And then you see how her maturity level, just by the way she speaks, is different than what she was at the beginning. At the beginning of her journey, she's more of like a very childlike curiosity. Okay, but that's not the same by the end of the movie. She becomes a woman. It's funny enough. That really knows or has experience what the real world is all about. And then not only those characters, there were some really great supporting characters. I enjoyed the assistant in London. Also, the ragtag group of people who helped fight. I absolutely love the Scottish character. He's actually from Trainspotting. He played Spud. He was my favorite character out of that. And then the characters, the Amazonians on Themyscira, they were my favorite supporting characters. Connie Nelson was awesome as her mother. Robin Wright, she brought it. She was a beast. I was just really sad to see her die so early in the movie. It's actually made you want to cry. She was Princess Diana's aunt. And then all the other Amazonians, even though they didn't have a lot of speaking roles, they looked like Amazonians. They acted like Amazonians, and they definitely fought like Amazonians. So it's everything that you would expect. Now, the other characters, I'll talk more about that later in the second half. But overall, character-driven movie. I love the acting. It fit them perfectly. Okay, so let's go on to the way this movie looked, in two ways. One, the set pieces, the way, they composed everything, the shots and everything, the environments. And then secondly, the action. Okay, so Themyscira, that was my favorite scenes of the whole movie. It was, in terms of the look, it was absolutely beautiful. It is paradise on earth. It had this whole Greek mythology feel. So I wish the whole movie was like that, okay? But unfortunately, you do end up in London and then in the war-torn zones in the second half. So that's more dark and dreary, and it has more of that Zack Snyder look. So I didn't enjoy the look of the second half of the movie, and obviously the end of the movie, as much as I did the beginning. Now, in terms of the battle scenes, it's really only 3 main battles. And the ones that I enjoyed the most was first No Man's Land, where Wonder Woman comes out against all the German army, and then Chris Pine and the group help fight. And then when she gets into the city, she's throwing tanks around, she's lassoing these soldiers, and then she jumps up in the air and smashes through a tower where the sniper's at. That was awesome. It's probably one of my favorite action scenes, comic book or not. That was just sweet. And that just set the stage to show you what Wonder Woman is really all about. And also the very first battle scene in Themyscira, when all the Amazonians are fighting these Germans, 300 style. And actually, I think it was a little bit better than 300 because it was more realistic. You got to see really what these Amazonians were able to do in battle. And they were fighting with arrows and knives, versus guns, So that was awesome. Now, the final battle I'll talk about in the second half. Okay, and so there were other set pieces, action pieces in between, like when they're in London, where Wonder Woman was deflecting these guys trying to kill him, these German guys trying to kill him with guns. That was sweet. I love the angle of that shot. And there were some other scenes, but there were like small scenes here and there. And so those were the main parts where it's beautiful, and it had some action as well. So, and also the humor in this movie. A lot of this humor, mainly between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, they seem so natural, and especially at the beginning when they were in the boat and they were going back to London, had a really funny dialogue about sex and reproduction, and that was hilarious. And it wasn't forced, and later on with the assistant, so all of this humor, it was very natural. And the way you see Chris Pine express himself, you could understand his challenge with trying to explain things to Diane Prince, Wonder Woman, so you feel his pain, but at the same time, it's a real serious moment. Things are going on. Okay, so I enjoyed that as well, the humor aspect of it. And also, maybe one final thing, the way it tied in with Justice League, the Bruce Wayne briefcase, her narrating from the modern age, so it ties in well with Justice League without forcing it. Okay, so those are the things I enjoyed the most. Gal Gadot, director Patty Jenkins, the character-driven story, some of the environments, and definitely the 2 main action pieces that I talked about a little bit earlier. Now let's talk about the things that I didn't like. I'm going to start off with the villains. You know, they sucked. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, the main Lundberg, played by Houston, and then Dr. Poison, they were like throwaway villains. They really weren't villains. And even if the movie didn't have them, I don't think you would have given up much. And also the main villain, Ares, you know, which was a twist. It was the Patrick guy. Really wasn't much of a twist. And honestly, I just didn't get it. You know, he is a god of war. He is Zeus' son. He pretty much took out all the other gods, and eventually his dad died because of him. And he should have been way more powerful. And I understand in the comic books he does fight Wonder Woman a lot. But in this case, even though Wonder Woman herself is a god, technically, I just can't see how she would be so much more powerful than Ares. You know, especially, you know, the last battle. And this is the one that I didn't like. The rest of the movie, awesome. I couldn't find many flaws. But the last half of it, you know, because Zack Snyder was one of the writers. There were 3 different writers. The last half was more like a Zack Snyder movie. A lot of explosion, a lot of spectacle, not much else. You know, and in this case, Ares being so powerful, he like stopped Wonder Woman's sword with his hand and destroyed it with his hand. But then later on, when Steve Trevor dies, you know, she's filled with emotion. She feels with anger. And then here's the whole cliche. You get beat up at the beginning, you get all angry, and suddenly you're like 1,000 times more powerful. And after that happens, Ares can't do anything to her. And so, and I understand this is a fantasy movie, comic book movie, but, you know, that's, I don't know, that could have been handled, I guess, better. Add more tension to it and less clichéness. And so the whole last half of the movie is really what brought it down from being an absolute classic, okay? And maybe if they developed the villain more, mainly Ares, I would have liked to know more. That would have been more enjoyable. And I didn't really care about the other 2 villains, as I said earlier. And so it's really the second half of the movie near the end, I mean, all the way to the end, that I didn't like. And then some of the supporting cast, like the Ragtag group, I only remember like the Scottish guy. No, there was a Moroccan guy, an American Indian guy, and I didn't really care about them, to be honest with you. And yeah, that was the things that I didn't like, okay? Now, did it make it a bad movie? Absolutely not. It's just that it could have been done better, and it could have made the movie an instant classic. And as far as I'm concerned, at this point, Wonder Woman is the best DC movie right now, for sure. And hopefully JLA will continue that trend. And I do hope that Patty Jenkins does another comic book movie in the future. And so that's it for my review of Wonder Woman. Really fun movie, great time. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And if you did see it, leave your comments in the description area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, leave a like and subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com. And I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.